she's told me, he's a good person when he's not beating the crap out of me. And I said, no, if he's beating the crap out of you, he's not a good person.
No, you know what, that mentality though, sorry, but it totally is there. Like, it's totally there. Like, you can stay, you can know that, hey, wait, like, before I said anything about having the knife to my neck, 2.5 weeks went by because I was terrified to say anything to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew he could go to jail for it, and I was terrified that he'd go to jail. But then I ended up turning myself in because I had a breach for my probation. Long story. Yes, whatever. I was a bad person. But I turned myself in thinking I was going to go to jail, and it turned out they went and arrested him. That's how that all ended. But you can see, like, why people stay in those relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, I never thought he loved me. I knew he didn't, because I knew as soon as he raised his hand to me that that wasn't love. I knew that. Yeah. I stayed. I tried to appease him, tried to keep him happy, blah, blah, blah. But I spent lots of time in the front closet just hiding because, he'd have some chick over, or he'd be doing crack in the basement, or he'd be doing God knows what, God knows where. But, even through it all, I still had to be, the perfect wife type thing. And it was hard because, if I didn't do a good enough job, then everybody left. I knew what I was getting.
Yeah, my sister with her ex, he raised his hands to her, and Pat, my father, my other brother-in-law, got a hold of him. And needless to say, he never did it again.
Good.
But she did finally leave him. But they didn't miss him, I'm telling you.
I hope they beat the tar out of him.
They did.
Good. He deserved it.
I was afraid. I'm like, oh my God, you're not going to go to jail. But no, he never touched her again, ever.
See, this is what happened with me, okay? This is why I had the whole thing with cops. I got to explain myself so people don't think I'm some kind of crook or something. What happened is I got into a fight with my husband at the time. And he was drinking, and he was giving alcohol to minors at the time.
Mm.
And there was also cocaine in the house. And I've never, ever denied the fact that I was addicted to it. And I would lie if I sat there and said I never did it that night, because I did a lot of it. And I had gone to bed or something like that. Anyhow, he was drinking shooters out of a 15-year-old girl's breasts.
Oh my God.
Or doing shooters out of them and out of her, like, belly button and stuff. And it's just like,
yeah.
So of course, me being his wife was kind of like, what the hell? Like, what are you doing? And he never understood why I was upset. So anyhow, I wanted to go to bed. So I said to him, like, can everybody go home so I can go to bed? He didn't want to go to bed. So I was like, oh my God. So anyhow, there ended up being like 2 full-liter bottles of pop being thrown at my head. I ended up calling the cops because when he went to hit me, or I went to go push him away or something like that, and my hand slipped. He ended up biting my finger, is what happened.
Oh, dang.
And I called the cops, and I had said that my husband had bit me. Can you get the cops here? And I was just freaking right out because I was so drunk and so high at the time that, even when I went to the bathroom, he was so sick and twisted that it was like everybody had to watch me use the washroom. Or they would just stand in the doorway and laugh at me and all this other stuff. So anyways, I was just really upset. And I had said my husband had bit me. And they came out. And because I was freaking out, and because just moments before he had tried to choke me out, and I was in bare feet and everything else, and just a house coat, and I was outside, and it was like minus 21 outside or something like that, and I had to be out there for like 45 minutes because he locked me out of the house. So this is all before Jesse. Anyhow, I had called the cops. I was freaking out. I was mad. I was whatever. And they Yeah, basically, because I was the one freaking out. They're the one, they took me to jail and charged me with assault
Wow.
and everything else.
It's usually how it
And-
works sometimes.
He wanted to move to Fort St. John, so I had to pretty much plead guilty to the assault charges in order to leave Quesnel. And I did, stupidly. Anyhow, the breach was because he forced me not to go to one of my probation meetings and, like, literally, like, barricaded me in the trailer. I could not go. And, anyhow, yeah, there was a warrant for my arrest for 9.5 months after that because I never turned myself in after I breached. So I had Jesse. I had moved back to Quesnel, went back to Fort St. John, then turned myself in. But that was only because he almost killed me. So that was, see, I wasn't some crazy lunatic that decided to knock off a bank or something. It was actually a good story behind that.
But that's the thing, you know, it's like, I mean, I've never been through something to that extent. Just a second.
No, I never have. But that's why some women feel they have no choice, they have to stay because they'd rather stay than be alone, or they're afraid to be alone, or
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's a vicious circle.
Some men do it too, because. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I just said that's the same as it was for me. I didn't want to be alone.
I never went through the physical, but I was on the receiving end of a heck of a lot of cheating and a lot of verbal stuff. And you know, there was that fear of being alone, but at the same time, I knew that I could not be open and transparent in those relationships because something was broken there. Even though you love the person, there's something broken there, and you know you can't be vulnerable with them. You can't trust them to be vulnerable with them, and so you don't even stay there to try to rebuild the trust because it takes two to rebuild trust.
Yeah,
You know, and when one person doesn't want to and they repeat the same patterns over and over again, you don't stick around there for rebuilding trust. You stick around there because you know, there's either that fear of being alone, or you're in a cult and they tell you that, you know, you're going to displease God if you leave, and you know there's that part of it too. But that's a different kind of exception. But here it's more like, you know, you're afraid of being alone. You get told, you know, nobody's going to want you. You know, you sorry putting it this way, but you like having your face in the government's balls.
See, he never really said stuff like that to me. Like, it wasn't like that. It was just, I find that there's people that you give too much power to. And
Oh yeah,
yeah,
agreed.
in that situation with him, I allowed him to have too much power over me.
yeah.
To the point
Well,
where, like, when I had that warrant for my arrest, he had the ultimate power over me. I had to comply with everything he wanted me to do because if not, he was going to go to the police and I would be arrested and probably put in jail or whatever.